here, and today we have a new episode in the art review series. And today we'll be checking out the work of Tabao underscore sub at Tabao Tabao underscore sub. I'll be linking all of the links in the description below, so feel free to check that out. When it comes to this style of this artist, I'm more of a painterly type of person. A lot of Tabao's work is heavy on the narrative art, or it's more about storytelling. It almost feels like it's a bunch of panels from a comic book or from a manga, I think. And even if it's not my style necessarily, I do like the character development or the way you can show, or if you kind of stick to one character and you create all sorts of panels or content on that specific character, you can build a narrative, a story of that character, and it can hook people in, even if it's not your style, or even if they're not that interested in the way it looks, because if they can see a personality through a set of paintings or drawings in this case, people can get somewhat attached. And I do like it. I do like Tabao's work when it comes to this storytelling kind of concept. He does, or she does, or this artist does focus a lot on this specific chick. I'm not sure if it's for a manga or something, but what I do know is that oftentimes she's a very drunk, or she tends to drink a lot, almost looks somewhat irresponsible, I think. It was somewhat messy, but if it's just this one piece, if you just see this one character or this one image of this chick, like, it won't mean much. Now, is this the same chick? I'm not sure, but the eyes often, at least for the style, it's somewhat droopy, like sleepy. This one feels more like a goth chick, but I do like the line work. It's very, it's not as clean. In fact, it's way more messy than usual. It's not as typical to see this type of content. I mean, it is, but usually when it comes to like manga, anime, the line work is often clean, so it feels somewhat sketchy, but I think you can pull a lot of people by your storytelling skills. And if you can convey some emotion, some story, you can get people attached, I think. Oh, I do like that armpit fat there. I'm not into the whole armpit thing, but I get it, you know. People have their thing. For me, it's mostly feet. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Now, again, same thing for the eyes. A lot of droopy. When it comes to the color scheme of his artworks or her artworks, very sad, almost like Soviet-esque. Like very, not dark, but it's just like, not boring. Boring is not the word. It feels somewhat like cloudy or mundane in a way. I think that's the essence there. But yeah, again, for example, for this chick, it's the same blonde chick with the short hair. And oftentimes she does look somewhat sleepy, droopy, tired. She does look somewhat irresponsible. Again, with the line work, it's not as clean, not as finished, but because the story is there, and because you keep seeing the same character doing different things, I think you can develop some kind of attachment. Now, this is a different character, perhaps from the same world. Style is still the same. What I do like, even if the style isn't my thing, because it's consistent, I do like seeing that. So maybe even if you're like, you can gain an audience by being consistent. I mean, I am following this guy anyway, so it's something. Even the child looks somewhat tired. Again, this blonde chick, short hair blonde chick, and oftentimes she's not even wearing her clothes, right? She's not very clean. She's somewhat unkept, but because again, it's you keep adding to the story again and again. And I think this is the value of OC, original characters. I think that's the value of those concepts when it comes to your portfolio. You can hook people in by developing a story for one specific character. And you can build a portfolio of just sticking to one character and just putting them in different scenes and adding to that kind of world, or building that world through that character. Here we have some fan art of, I forgot her name, Becca, from the Cyberpunk's anime, Edge Runners. One of my favorite characters, very emotional, and let me just like this photo. There you go. Here we have Lucy from, again, Cyberpunk's. She did add the eye thing again, where it's somewhat sleepy, droopy, and Lucy does smoke a lot in the anime, so it does fit the artist's tendencies to focus more on characters that are somewhat unclean. Again, this blonde chick, she does like to drink a lot, and I love how the eyes, especially around the eyes, it's somewhat red. Like, she hasn't slept in a few days now. And does she even take a shower? I'm not sure. Um, I mean, I'm not this bad, by the way. Look at the line work. It's not. It's pretty sketchy. This could have been his or her first draft. The rendering style, the way the shadows are done, a bit of core shadow here, but it's pretty simple. It's not that complicated. Even the way the clavicles are done, it's just two lines, and then the coloring under that shadow or the shadow under that clavicle is what makes that clavicle look very clavicle-ish. So it's not very detailed. It's not very rendered, but because if this was the only image again, no one would really pay attention. Maybe a few likes here and there, but because there's so much of this character, like you get to know, like you want to know more about this person or this entity, this story. And she's also hot, so yeah. But here we have a close up of our blonde chick, short hair blonde chick, and she should wear something more. But again, maybe that's her story, right? So again, with a cigarette, I like the foot shot there. Look at the way the toes are done. It's not even that clean. Like there's this back and forth motion with the line work, so it's not efficient in any way, but overall it works. Even the way the eyelashes are done, it's a back and forth kind of dashy line. Even the way the under bags of the eye are done, it's very heavy on the line work. It's pretty rough for line work. For the eyes, usually in anime types of artwork, they add way or a lot of like colors in the pupils of the eyes. But for this artist, for Tabao, it's just blue. But it works. I do see a heavier line edge for the chins. Maybe it's because of I think the head is way closer to you, so it makes sense. So there is some indication of line weight, although it's not as strong. It's still pretty rough. And yeah, she's hot. Here we have another a sketch. It's very sketchy. Like you could fill up a sketchbook of just drawings like this with the basic flat color underneath and some indication of shadows. The feet isn't even that rendered. It's enough, you know where the toes are and such. The folds, they're super rough, but because the drawing is enough in the beginning, the rough drawing is enough, you can kind of just wing the shadows and shit, I think. It still works. The colors are still somewhat toned down. They're closer on the unsaturated side. Pretty much gray. I think the world of this artist is somewhat gray, and it shows through the artwork, I think. Here we have another scene of our chick. Now, she's pretty open about her body, confident. Nice V here. I think she has a bit of a thigh gap. Unrealistic standards. Doing the peace sign again with the drinking and with the eyes. She's very sleepy right now, but still hot. Again with the line work. Look at the way the shorts were done, the line work of the shorts. It's just a bunch of... It's super sketchy, but all in all, like everything compensates for each other. The sketchy, rough lines, it's enough. The coloring is enough. Even the belly is somewhat painted, I think. So it compensates for... If you have enough of everything, it kind of adds to the whole thing. So I think that's the strategy of Tabao. You don't need much of each phase. You don't need like your best line work drawing in the beginning. Just a rough sketch, and then maybe a rough flat, and then maybe a rough shadow work, rough lighting, rough rendering. And then all in all, it adds to something that looks somewhat decent. Here we have the goth chick feeding, maybe it's her sister. They have the same hair, so perhaps they're somewhat related. So maybe it's her birthday. So who knows? Holy fucking shit, this is still hot. Again, it's still rough. Even without the flats and the shadows, it's enough to tell a story. It's for like a quick panel, quick comic, day in the life of, say, a drunk, lazy procrastinator. But again, it's still somewhat gray. The skin is gray. The jacket is actually gray, and even the tank top is dark gray. So everything's pretty much sad and droopy and sleepy. The only color that's somewhat saturated is usually underneath the eyes or around the eyes to indicate some kind of drinking problem, and maybe the knees. And I've seen for the feet, sometimes there's a bit of like sole or palm, not palm. It's like the skin underneath your feet is somewhat like pink and red. So those are the only areas that are somewhat saturated in this person's artwork. There's a bit of an injury here. I'm not sure where that's from. A cat, maybe. Self-harm, hopefully not. Abuse, or maybe she's just kinky. Or maybe because a lot of drunk people do get injured along the way, like they bump into things, so maybe it contributes to her story. Who knows? And you don't have to eliminate all of your line work in the beginning. For example, for this part right here, I get it. It's for indicating a certain form of the clothing, but and obviously like it's essentially there so you can paint over it in the future once you've actually added the color. But you don't always have to remove it. It can add to the style, I guess. Even for the knees, you could have just added or painted like the shadow, the undershadow, but adding some line work or leaving some of that sketchy rough line work can add to that. Can add to your style. I think we'll leave the art review here. If you're interested in more of storytelling, and maybe if you're a very sketchy drawer and you just want to say what you want to say and you're not really into the whole impressionistic or like fully rendered stuff and you just want a story, or if you just want to say something with your artwork and you prefer doing it through drawing or sketching rather than writing or doing some kind of audio about it or podcast, I do recommend checking out Tabau's work at Tabao_sub. I'll link the links in the description below, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the art review series, and I'll see you in the next art review.